Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Dhena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah.
It's actually the sound of Krishna's flute. So all the sounds from the spiritual world can be imported to the material world. And this is the main means of, as we say in the verse, Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udiraya, which means this is our very means of conquest, the very means of coming out of the sloth of material existence, is by hearing the sound of the Bhagavatam, which is mentioned in the 5th chapter of the 1st canto by Narada. Tadvag visargo janataga viplavo yasmin prati shlokam abadya batyapi namanyanantasya yashon kitanya shrinvanti gayanti grananti sahadava. That this sound of the Bhagavatam is a different creation. It's not from this world at all. And it is meant to cause a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. And it changes the heart when one hears the sound of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's full of the names of the unlimited Supreme Lord. Narayanam namaskritya Naram chaiva narottamam Devim saraswatim vyasam Tato jayamudiraye Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya Tatra kirta yato vipra Viprashir bhuri tejasaha Aham chadyagamam tatra Vishtastat anugraha Soham va shravya vishyami Yataditam yatamati Yataditam yatamati Yataditam yatamati. This is one of the keys to this verse, which will be mentioned in the purport. Yata aditam yatamati, as far as my realization goes. One more time. Tatra kirtayato vipra Viprasher bhuri tejasaha Aham chadyagamam tatra Vivishtasthad anugraha Soham va shravayishyami Yataditam yatamati Tatra, there. Kirtayata, while reciting. Vipra, O Brahmanas. Viprashe, from the great Brahmana Rishi. Bhuri, greatly. Tejasa, powerful. Aham, I. Cha, also. Adyagamam, could understand. Tatra, in that meeting. Nivishta, being perfectly attentive. Tadanugraha, by his mercy. Sa, that very thing. Aham, I. Va, unto you. Shravayishyami, shall let you hear. Yata aditam yatamati, as far as my realization. Translation: O learned Brahmanas, when Shukadeva Goswami recited Srimad Bhagavatam there in the presence of Emperor Bali, I learned the Bhagavatam from that great and powerful sage. Now I shall try to make you hear the very same thing as I learned it from him and as I have realized it. Sutta Goswami speaking, as he had been present at the assembly at Naimisharanya, which is a very special assembly of great sages. They came there to about to speak, but he is on the Vyasasana, and normally if somebody's on the Vyasasana, it's not required that they stand up. It's a etiquette when a superior comes, one should stand up. And however, if it's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you stand up and offer obeisances. But he didn't. And because of that, Balaram noticed him and detected in him some impudence. And he also remembered that he was of a mixed caste. He was actually not that elevated. Of course, it doesn't really matter if one is on the topmost platform, but if one exhibits some worldliness, then it brings that to mind. That's one's past disqualifications, and that came to Balaram's mind. And as Balaram is the protector of Dharma, he, to salvage the situation, killed Romaharshan, but he did it with finesse, because he took a kusha straw, blessed him with long life, and now you took away the benediction. What should we do now? And someone came up with a verse, as has been done before in other stories, that if you you can transfer it to the Son, because the Son and the Father are one. And it just turned out, as it turned out, Sutta Goswami was highly qualified. And so they make advancement in devotional service. And yata ditam yatamati, as I learned it from him, and as I have realized it. Here's the purport. One can certainly see directly the presence of Lord Sri Krishna in the pages of Bhagavatam if one has heard it from a self-realized soul, self-realized great soul like Shukadeva Goswami. One cannot, however, learn Bhagavatam from a bogus hired reciter whose aim of life is to earn some money out of such recitation and employ the earning in sex indulgence. No one can learn Srimad Bhagavatam who is associated with persons engaged in sex life. That is the secret of learning Bhagavatam. Nor can one learn Bhagavatam from one who interprets the text by his mundane scholarship. One has to learn Bhagavatam from the representative of Shukadeva Goswami and no one else, if one at all wants to see Lord Krishna in the pages. That is the process, and there is no alternative. Suta Goswami is a bona fide representative of Shukadeva Goswami because he wants to present the message which he received from the great learned Brahmana. Shukadeva Goswami presented Bhagavatam as he heard it from his great father, and so also Suta Goswami is presenting Bhagavatam as he heard it from Shukadeva Goswami. Simple hearing is not all. One must realize the text with proper attention. The word nivishta means that Suta Goswami drank. That is the real process of receiving Bhagavatam. One should hear with rapt attention from the real person, and then he can at once realize the presence of Lord Krishna in every page. The secret of knowing Bhagavatam is mentioned here. No one can give rapt attention who is not pure in mind. No one can be pure in mind who is not pure in action. No one can be pure in action who is not pure in eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. But somehow or other, if someone hears with rapt attention from the right person, at the very beginning, one can assuredly see Lord Sri Krishna in person in the pages of the Bhagavatam. Om Ajnana-Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadahmayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Sadvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Tinamine Shri Varshavana Videvi Daitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namaha Madhuryo Jvala Premadya Shri Rupa Ruga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Virudhapa Siddhanta Dvantaha Vipralambara Sambodhe Padambujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sakchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Sarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gaur Virbhava Bhomestvam Virdesa Sajana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannathaya Te Namo. Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Sarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namani Bhakta Shaktikam. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Suratau Pangor Mama Manda Matirgati Matsarva Swapadam Bojao Radha Madada Mohanao Divya Vrindaranya Kalpadrumada Srimad Ratnagara Singhasanastao Srimad Radha Shila Govinda Deva Prishtali Bhisevyamanusmarani Shriman Rasarasarambi Vamshivatatastita Karshan Venu Swaner Gopir Gopinatha Shriyestunaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vrindai Tulsi Devyai Priyai Keshavasya Cha Vishnu Bhakti Pradidevi Satyavachai Namo Rukapadma Pringa Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya Glanir Bhavati Bharata Abhyutanam Dharmasya Tadatmanam Sujanyaham Ritranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Chaduskritam Dharma Samstapanartaya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge Manmana Bhava Madbhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru Mami Vaishasi Utvaivam Atmanam Apara Eshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Tada Rajastamo Bhava Kamalobha Dayaschaye Chaitaitaranavidam Stitam Satye Prasidati Evam Prasanna Manaso Bhagavad Bhakti Yogataha Bhagavad Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate Vidyate Hridaye Grantish Chijante Sarva Samshaya dvesha, seeing polarities between myself and others. And this is the bodily conception of life which fills one with anxiety and fear. The Srimad Bhagavatam, Kavi Yogendra, Bhayam Dvitiya Vinibeshita Syad Ishad Apetasya Viparya Yosmiti. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught this verse to Sanatana Goswami. And he says that when one sees something separate from Krishna, Dvitiya, Dvi means the second thing. There's actually only one thing, because Krishna and the philosophy of Krishna consciousness points towards Advaya Gyan Tattva. There's only one truth. One thing you can point to. Tattva, tat means that you can actually point to, which is real. It's the same in English, that. Tat and that are the same, or they're cognate. Its exist is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, he's also called Tat. Everyone say Tat. Like Om Tat Sat. Tat Tattvavidas Tattvam Gyad Yajjanamadvayam Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavaniti Shabdyate. The Supreme Absolute Truth is one, there's no difference, but at the same time he manifests in various features, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So when one imagines a separate existence, of philosophy from the Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam will accommodate. But it's meant for those who are pursuing the path of pure devotional service. And then, Nigama kalpatoror galitam palam shuka mukadam rita drava samyutam pibata bhagavatam rasamalayam mahura horasika bhuvi bhavuka. This is a beautiful and poetical verse. Nigama. It's from the nigama. Nigama, gama means to go, like gachati. And ni means within. So for going within, the nigamas are meant for finding out what's actually inside. Nigama kalpataro galitam palam. And so now it's being said at the beginning of Bhagavatam that the Bhagavatam itself is like the fruit of the tree of all the special literatures, the nigamas that are meant to show you the ultimate purpose of life and find yourself within. Nigama kalpataror galitam palam. And it's a desire tree to fulfill all your desires. Shukamukadam rita drava samyutam. It was spoken by Shukadev Goswami. And you can see the quality of the speaker. Shukadev Goswami didn't want to come out of the womb because he didn't want to get caught up in the material world. I mean, some people run away from home at some point. They usually get entangled somewhere else. But Shukadev, he wouldn't come out of the womb at all until he was 16 because he didn't want to mix with the material nature. That was his standard. Until Krishna came and told him, you can come out now. You'll be okay. But even when he did come out, yap pravajantam anupetam apeta kritam dvaipayano viraha kartara ajuhava. Beginning of Bhagavatam says, he came out of the womb and he took off running. Apeta, he didn't take any education. Apetya krityam, he didn't undergo the sacred thread ceremony, although that was extremely important at that time in those cultures. He said, I want no culture, I want no education, I don't want to see my family even though his father was Vyasadeva. He turned around and ran, and Vyasadeva was calling after him, oh my son! So poetically the Bhagavatam says that only the trees echoed in response to the bereaved father. And Shukadev went to the forest. So then Vyasadeva had a plan, and that was to attract him back, because the Bhagavatam How would he be attracted by the Bhagavatam? Because those who are no longer interested in the material world are still interested in Bhagavatam. This verse or concept and verse is made much of by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Atmarama verse. Atmaramash Chamunayo Nigranta Apyarukrame. Those who are Nigranta, those who are beyond material books and education, they've gone to a different level. And they're self-satisfied. They don't need anything in this world. They're still attracted to Bhagavatam because Bhagavatam is from a different place. It's beyond the variety of the material world. It's not sullied by the three modes of material nature. It's completely transcendental. So Vyasadeva sent out to the forest where Shukadeva had taken refuge with no clothes and no connection to the world at all. And some of the students of Vyasadeva went there and recited verses from the Bhagavatam within earshot of Shukadeva Goswami. One of the verses, Aho Bhakiyam Stanakala Kutam Jigam Sayaya Payadapya Sadbi Lebe Gatinam Dat Rutitam Tatonyam Gatam. I did it yesterday too, I blew it. Kamvada Yalum Sharanam Vrajema. This is verse spoken by Uddhava, and he says, oh, how wonderful Krishna is. Who would take shelter of anybody else? Who would think of anybody else or make any endeavor in life except to be near Krishna? Because Krishna liberated Putana, even though she was faking it as her mother. Krishna just took it that, oh, she came dressed as a mother, so I'll take that part. And he discounted the part that she came to kill him. So when Shukadeva began hearing these verses, his mind became so attracted. He's not attracted to anything in this world, but he was attracted to that. And he came back to learn the Srimad Bhagavatam from his father. And then he went out into the world. Yam pravajantam anupeta. Yaswanubhavam akila shuti saramekam adyatma deepam atirshatam tamundam samsarinam karunayaha puranaguyam tam vyasasunam upayami guru muninam. This verse in the beginning of the Bhagavatam says that now Shukadeva, he had no other purpose in life except to give mercy to others. He had no attachment to the material world at all. But why did he move? And this is one of the points of the Srimad Bhagavatam and of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. When you're completely liberated, when you have no interest in the world at all, what is your type of movement? What kind of movement do you engage in? Do you do nothing? That's a common conception people have. If you go to teach spirituality anywhere, people have this idea that spiritual life means to give up everything and to sit and be not just quiet, but to be nothing. To be nothing. However, Bhagavatam is about life beyond liberation. And on a number line, you have the negative numbers, that's the material world. You move in the material world and it seems like you're doing something worthwhile, but actually Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, you should know the difference between action and inaction and inaction and action. And you should know also that when you're moving in the material world, you're accumulating a debt. This is called karma. It's the kind of debt that you accrue. And after many lifetimes, you have so much debt that you can't pay it all off, ever. How's that sound? Like a lot of fun, right? So that's the material world. It's the negative numbers. The more you move, the more you're, the numbers are getting apparently bigger, but guess what? There's a negative sign by them. So actually you're getting more and more in debt. So then someone might say, well, let me get out of here. I'll move all the way up to 0, which is as far as you can go unless you hear from pure devotees. Because only pure devotees, and the Bhagavatam has the secret of how to move for a spiritual cause. Otherwise you come to 0, which is very much like going on strike when you don't like your work. And when you go on strike, you're not working anymore, but at some point you're going to have to go back to work. And that's a little annoying also. So the idea of nothingness, of just being mindful, of coming to zero, is not plausible for the living entity. Krishna says in the Gita, Nahi kaschit shanamapi jatu tischatya karma krit karyate hyavasha karma sarva prakriti jairagunai. No one can stop activity. Living entities are eternally active. Even if you go to sleep, you'll still be active in your dreams. And even if you go in Mahavishnu and you stay inside, you get pulled inside after the cataclysm of this universe. As soon as you come out again, you'll be rousted back into action. What happens is you go into susupti, which is sleeping without dreaming, and you're sort of suspended there for some time, a few billion years. And then when Mahavishnu breathes back out again, Yashai Kanishusita Kalamatavalamya Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jaganandanada Vishnur Mahansa Yasya Kala Vishesho Govindamari Purushamta Maham Bhajami. The whole material creation is taking place with the rhythm of the breathing of Mahavishnu. So he breathes in, we all go back inside Mahavishnu, and then when he exhales, we're manifest again. Bhagavatam says, as soon as you come out from the Mahavishnu after susupti sleep, asal gunamayer bhavera bhuta sukshmendriyatma biswad nirmiteshu nirvishto bhunte bhuteshu tadgunan. Then the super soul reminds you, here's what you wanted to do, and by the way, you owe a huge debt. It's still there on your tab. Hey, you ran up a huge tab last billion births, and you got to pay it off, or you'll be pummeled. You'll be pummeled anyway, but really pummeled. So then he reminds the living entity that you wanted to enjoy the material nature. And so the living entity takes up again with the facility. He gets facility, some senses, and he starts to work again in the material world. And this goes on forever. There's no end to it. And there's no end to the material world. There's no beginning to the material world. There's no end to it also. It's always existing. It just comes in cycles. Because there's always living entities who are caught in the material world. So the means for coming out of this, this is a cause for huge celebration. It's being announced in the beginning of the Bhagavatam. You can come out, and it's not dry. He's saying, Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam. He said, Pibata means it's a nice drink waiting for you here. And how do you drink it? You drink it with your ears, as you hear here. Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam. And what is it? Drava Samyutam. The fruit, it's so nice that it's dravya. It's like a smoothie almost. It's kind of pre-digested. You can drink it, the fruit. It's so tasty, the fruit. You can drink it. And how long can you drink it? Until alayam. Alayam means until you're like, alayam means until devastation. On a personal level, it means you drink it until you're knocked out by it and you fall down. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes about this. You get back up again. This sounds typical of like people who drink other substances, which are not recommended. But this is, and that's the benefit, because everyone thinks like, I'll find some kind of drug here in the world that'll actually work. Huey Lewis sang about this years ago. He wrote a song, I Need a New Drug. It was during the drug era. And people taking drugs that wasn't working out well because they take them and then they become afflicted, addicted. But here's a drug that doesn't cause any problem. Actually, every time you drink it, it makes you swoon in ecstasy. And the taste is so nice that you can't stop drinking it. So, Nigama Kalpatarur Galitam Palam, it's a fruit. The tree of Vedic literature, the essence of knowledge is there everywhere, but in the Vedas, you're not going to get it. I mean, it's there in the bark, but you're not going to eat bark, and you're not going to eat the branches. But when the fruit comes out, then you can enjoy. So it's saying, get ready. You can really enjoy now. Nigama kalpataror galitam balam. Shukamukha Amrita Dravasam. And it's even sweeter now that it was spoken by Shukadeva Goswami, because who else would you want to hear from except for somebody has no motive? We're really actually disturbed, aren't we, by coming in contact with the material motivation. I notice this sometime if I'm looking at some web page and there's like articles of knowledge, imparting knowledge, and then you see one that looks attractive, and then you look and it says paid advertisement. I never click on that because I think there's some scam. They're running some scam here because it's clickbait. Because they want something from me. Of course, they all do. But the fact is that one becomes obvious. And I just always think, if somebody wants something from you, they want something in return, it ruins the whole exchange. I mean, they want something for themselves in return. But this Bhagavatam, it's spoken by Shukadeva. He doesn't want anything from you because he doesn't need anything. And that's why Karuna Yaha Purana Kuhyam. He went out walking in the world, and it was only out of this feeling of fullness, and that's the kind of movement that one gets from the Bhagavatam. If one feels so satisfied in oneself that I'm not that interested in the material world anymore. I participate in it because I have to. I'm here, I have a body, it has to be fed, but I'm really not interested in it anymore. I'm only interested in Bhagavatam, in hearing about Krishna. And such a person moving in the world is different from others. The way Shukadeva Goswami was moving was out of Karuna Yaha Purana Guyam. Only because he felt this sense of compassion for others who were toiling in the material world. We had this little sense of this. Recently we were in Los Angeles for the Ratha Yatra, and we stay around the temple. You can stay kind of isolated from the rest of the world when you're in New Dwarka. A few cars coming down the street. They should have closed that street years ago. But it's like you're in Rameshwaram or something like that, where there's just devotees walking around, or Mayapur. You don't see anybody in Mayapur unless they came there to see the deities practically, right? And you can stay there, and after a while you can start thinking, yeah, this is what the whole world is like. But then you leave New Dwarka and go down the street onto Venice Boulevard and go, oh my God, they're still doing that out there. It's still going on. So Shukadeva, he didn't want anything, he didn't need anything, he was full with Bhagavatam. But he went out because he felt that compassion. People are killing themselves, they're drinking poison, and they don't have this Bhagavatam. So that's the culture that we're dealing with here. The devotees, that's their standard. They don't want anything, they don't need anything, they're full in themselves, but they go out to give Bhagavatam. So then Shukadeva went to, by divine arrangement, to meet Maharaj Parikshit, which is another great lesson that if one is needy spiritually, has a great desire within the heart, then Krishna makes all arrangements for someone like that, to meet someone who can accommodate and actually fulfill one's desire to hear. Dhruva had the same thing. He had such a burning desire that he met Narada Muni, and Parikshit Maharaj was so desirous to hear the truth that he met Shukadeva Goswami by the Lord's divine arrangement. And this is where the action is. Where there's somebody that's completely hungry for spiritual life, no other desire, and they meet the person who is full up with this beverage of Srimad Bhagavatam, completely satisfied and only out of compassion is speaking. And when that happens, there's a kind of combustion that affects the whole world, and that's Bhagavatam. So here, Sutta Goswami is describing what that's like. He's saying, that happened for me. I was there. I heard it. I heard Shukadeva speaking to Parikshit. What a drama. The king of the world comes out. He's going to die in 7 days. And there he meets Shukadeva Goswami, the sage with no clothes. Meets the king, who just gave up everything and is wondering what to do. That's kind of interesting. And Shukadeva sits there and he hears, Sutta hears everything, and now he comes to the sages who are highly qualified. You can tell if you hear the speaking of Shaunaka in the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, some of the most beautiful poetry coming from Shaunaka. He's the eldest of the sages at Naimasaranya, and he's speaking. And greeting Sudra Goswami, welcoming him to speak in that assembly. So now, in the purport, Prabhupada mentions that this is the means to advance spiritually, to hear with rapt attention. And to do so, one has to be kind of like Shukadeva Goswami, no longer implicated by material life. It's a very sticky environment in the material world. If you put your, it's like a tar baby, you start touching it and you get stuck to it. It gets all over you. It's hard to get off. And when you're implicated in the material world, it's really hard to concentrate. It's hard to do your bhajan. So this life of devotional service, going for the best thing, get the best kind of intoxication you possibly can, this Bhagavatam, and come to the highest goal of life. It requires some sacrifice, that one stay free from the implications of the material world. Don't get involved. Just do your work in the material world to the degree that you have to, and don't get implicated. And at the same time, hear Srimad Bhagavatam and develop the acumen of hearing Bhagavatam to the point at which you're hearing with rapt attention. So the word rapt comes from the word rapture. Someone please, could you read the definition of rapture? Rapt attention means rapturous. Rapturous hearing. And rapture means?
A feeling of intense pleasure or joy.
A feeling of intense pleasure or joy. Any more? Comes from?
Comes from North American. According to some millenarian teaching, transporting of believers to heaven at the second coming of Christ.
That's from the Bible. Oh, we got a microphone here. Any other etymology where it comes from? French. Medieval Latin.
English. Yeah.
Which rapture? So many more etymology.
It says hawk or falcon.
Hawk or falcon. That's all you all have?
It also means
Completely fascinated or absorbed by.
Completely
Fascinated.
fascinated. Completely fascinated or?
Absorbed by what one is.
Yeah, so completely fascinated or absorbed in what one is seeing or hearing. Completely fascinated or absorbed. That's the level of hearing Bhagavatam, chanting Hare Krishna, at which one actually gets this change of heart. So if one doesn't have that, one has to reorganize one's life in such a way to get it. And that's the great mission of life, of human life, is to be in that position, to be rapturous when hearing, complete absorption and completely fascinated to hearing. Then the change is very rapid in one's life and heart. Pravishtakarna randrena swanam bhavam saroruham. What's the third line? Dunoti salilam Krishna salilasya yatashara. This is a beautiful verse from the Bhagavatam that says, when you hear this vibration of the Bhagavatam, it reestablishes your relationship with the Supreme Lord on the altar of your heart. And also, it removes the impurities from your heart, just the way the rain during the autumn season in India removes mud from the water. It's an interesting phenomenon, because I always thought if it's raining, the water's going to be muddy in the rivers and lakes. But actually, that happens during monsoon, but during the autumn season, it rains just enough so it clears everything out. Everything becomes clear. So from Bhagavatam, everything becomes clear in the heart, and the relationship of Supreme Lord is established. Let's take some reflections or questions to expand the topic.
sorry, what was that?
Yes.
That you just said?
Pravishta karna randrena swanam bhavam saroraham. Dunoti salilam Krishna salilasya yata sharat. Sharat means the autumn season. During Sharat, just like during Sharat, when the rain clears out all the mud, so similarly, when you hear Bhagavatam, it clears out all the dirty things from the world. And we're going to go with His Holiness Bhakti Marg Swami, Hare Krishna, for the win.
I always thought it was a beautiful terminology that Prabhupada gave to us with the Hare Krishna movement. That means we move, we're active, we're not, as you say, stoic, we're not that kind of a form of spirituality where you just sit down and do nothing. And then you have chapter 3 and chapter 5 in the Bhagavad Gita, which talk about being active, moving, getting things going, not being a sloth. Although they're nice animals. Cute. But I mean, the idea of movement, and it's not a religion, which has so many limitations, especially these days, by people's interpretations. This be active, get things moving. There's no moss that will be collected. There is no cobwebs, because there's always some movement going on, so much life. Yeah. In other words, for rapture is euphoria, elation, joyfulness, cloud nine, seventh heaven. Good stuff.
It is. So it's what everyone's really looking for. Thanks, Maharaj. That was really helpful.
Where does rapping come from? Does it come from rapture? Well,
somebody could look that up at a colloquial dictionary. Okay. Amala?
Can you repeat the questions?
They can't hear the questions? Even with the microphone?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll repeat it.
So I've had this question in my heart for a little while now, and I've noticed that some people that I've met have this fear of reading scripture because they feel like it confuses them more, which I thought was a really interesting viewpoint, because they feel that some of the things, it's hard to know how to apply that to your own life, and there can be a risk of maybe feeling inferior or feeling unworthy to continue your spiritual practice because certain descriptions or ideals or I guess practices suggested in scripture directly might be difficult to directly apply.
I could hear that last part. Just the last sentence again.
Like some of the recommendations or ideals described in scripture might be intimidating or frightening. So it confuses a person instead of being inspiring. So I
that's a good point. It's a good point, and it's an important question. Thank you for bringing it up. Now, if I walk into a law office, question was, I can't believe they can't hear that.
When you're online?
That's because the echo, the ambient noise in here is diffused. Okay, I understand. So she was saying that some people feel intimidated by reading scripture because they feel that there's such a high demand. It doesn't fit their lifestyle or the way they can apply it, and it may sound too lofty or even confusing to them. Was that the essence of it?
Yeah, I think that was what I was trying to say, yes.
Okay. And so I was saying if I go into a law library and I start thumbing through, or let's make it, law, it's sort of a social science, you could kind of piece it together, but let's say if I went into a physics library and I started looking at formulas and reading through without context or any training, I'd be really intimidated and confused also, because I don't know about physics. And so, in a similar way, people need to have context, and they also need guidance to read scripture. In fact, for many years, it was not even an option for people in general to read scripture. Generally, even in the Catholic Church, it was basically that, you go through a priest, and the Protestants sort of rebelled against that idea. Martin Luther, said, the heck with you people, you priests and stuff like that. God's for everybody, he's all pervading, and it should be good enough for anyone. So actually he started printing Bibles, the Protestants. That's what they're called, the Protestants, because they didn't like this idea that only certain qualified people could read scripture. And there in the Vedic culture also, you'll find in the Ramayana, Mahabharata rather, that certain people they're asked not to read scripture. Shudras were not allowed to study the Vedas because they're not qualified. Like if you do a double-blind study, you go to all the trouble, and then you come out with the results. You don't go to the hot dog stand and ask the guy, "What do you think of my study? How do you think this? What do you think of my research?" And I'm like, "No, I don't know. You want a hot dog?" Actually, that's the whole idea of democracy too. Democracy is based on this idea of universal suffrage. That there's a way in which everyone's supposed to be educated equally, so that they can make good decisions. So much with that program. And so there's this idea in the Vedic culture also. So there is some credence to that. Not everybody can understand the Bhagavad Gita. We just happen to be in a really interesting time right now. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Panchatattva came at a time when it's described by Kaviraj Goswami, they just broke open the storehouse of love of God, and they started giving it out to people, not even considering whether they were fit or unfit candidates. It's a kind of, wild time right now because of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and learning Inanda. Let's just give it to everybody. And so really, one needs to have guidance in scripture. So there's Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. Gurus are important. It's just like, don't go read the law books, but go get an attorney who already read them, and have the attorney run you through, find out the important parts and how does it apply to your case. Prabhupada uses this example. He said a guru is like an attorney. And that's the main qualification of guru, actually, knows the Shastra and is able to represent the Shastra for you, because there's so much there. In fact, that's what's happening here at Naimisharanya. You'll notice that the sages, they're all there with Sutta Goswami. And these are highly learned people. They can sit in one place for 1,000 years, and they're very self-controlled, and they're sages. And they put sutta up there, and they say, Buddhini buddhi karmani shota vyani vibhagasha ata sadyo trayat saram samudritya manishaya bruhi bhadraya bhutanam yena ma suprasidati. This is their question to Sutta, Naimisharanya. And that is that Buddhini buddhi karmani, there are many kinds of duties, karmas, that you have to do in the material world. You're obligated to do this, this, and that, especially in Varnashram system. And there are many scriptures to read. There are unlimited scriptures. Which one do I start with? It's very intimidating. Buddhini buddhi karmani shrota vyani vibhagasha. There's so many shrota vyani. There's so many things that you have to hear. Atta sadyo trayat saram. So they say, but you know the essence of it. Atta sadro trayat saram means the cream of something. So you know, like what, why we should read these and where we should read them, what we're supposed to get out of it. Atasado, trayat saram, samudrita manishaya, and because manishaya, you've considered it very carefully. And I mentioned earlier how he was qualified because he spent his whole life culturing this under gurus. I said the verse, Veta tom samyatat sarvam tatfatas tadanugrahat, bruyush nigdasya sishasya guravo kuhyamapyata. You've understood the truth because you were submissive to your gurus. You practice this, so you've got it. That's why they're listening to him, right? So now they're saying there's all these scriptures. We're intimidated by them. Same question. What do I hear? Shrota vyani vibhagasha. There's so many things to hear. I mean, you could go to Loi Bazaar now. You know where that is? It's downtown Vrindavan. Bazaar means it's bizarre. You know, it's a place where everything's, you can buy anything. And in fact, now you know, because they're such Vaishyas, the people who live in Loi Bazaar. I mean, that they're empowered. Just like yogis are empowered to see the super soul, they can see a rupee, meditate on it and attract it. And that, so anyway, one of them started a bookshop there. And he just collects books from anywhere. And he doesn't care if they're edited properly or not. They have millions of books at this one bookshop in Loi Bazaar. And you can walk in and just get bewildered. I mean, just looking at Prabhupada's books that we have on one shelf is intimidating enough, right? You go to Loi Bazaar, and that's Shrotavyani, like this Purana, that Purana, this, esoteric writing by the Goswamis. It never ends. And he packages them all up really nicely. And, it's like, okay. Prabhupada mentioned this once. He said, I've given you a simple process, chant Hare Krishna. And he said, but now I see that my disciples are collecting many austere books, big stacks of them. And this is a tendency. So, Shrotavyani Vibhagasha, they say, there's so many things to hear, there's so many things to do. Tell us the essence. What are we supposed to do? That's what the whole Bhagavatam is. It says giving the essence. What's the main point? And that's being guided by Guru. So when you read Shastra, you need to have a lawyer on hand. You need to retain an attorney to understand this properly. Because the attorney will take you through and say, here's what you need, here's what you don't need. And look at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did it when he's teaching Sanatana Goswami. He through that whole Sanatana Shiksha in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you'll notice he gives them 64 items of devotional service. How many people here practice the 64 items of devotional service every day? No, not enough time, right? And there's so many rules and regulations. If you read the Hari Bhakti Vilas, which was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's, he asked Sanatan to write that book to show devotees how they're supposed to act, how they're supposed to do etiquette and everything. It's onerous to follow all those things. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, okay, out of 64 items, there are 5. And he said, these 5 are so powerful that if you follow these 5, even if you only have a little connection to them, and even if you don't have faith in them, if you're not offensive and you just follow them, you'll have all success. Keeps making it small. Then he said, out of the 5, there's 1 that you can concentrate on. And so Mahaprabhu is acting like that attorney for Sanatan and for everyone else. He's saying, okay, there's all this, but then there's this, and if you just practice here and do it like this, then you'll have success. So if someone has the Shastra and has guidance, then they can get success in following the process. Did that help?
Yeah, I really did. I'm going to tell my friend too.
What?
I'm going to tell my friend as well who...
Tell her to get lawyered up?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Krishna's Kaviraj and then your better half. Or should we go the other way? You decide. Okay.
You were talking about how Sukadeva Goswami didn't have any motive, so he was the right person.
Right.
And since we've been in the material existence, everything we do is motivated. And so when we come to devotional service, I find that like an alcoholic, sometimes I don't even recognize that I've got a problem with motivation. And so I'm doing my service and I'm thinking I'm doing it so that everybody will look at me like I'm a good lecturer, I'm a good pujari, I'm a good this, I'm a good that. How do we recognize that we've got a problem, and then how do we get rid of that problem?
Well, first of all, so Krishnas Kaviraj Prabhu was saying that there's a way in which, having been in the material world since the time immemorial, I may be tinged with motive in everything I do, and I might not even know it. And so how do I get out of that one? Because if I'm saying, you have to listen to people who are not motivated, and I'm speaking, somebody else is speaking, whatever, it may be all pervasive. So how do we deal with that? Well, the Bhagavatam is very liberal, actually. Even at the same time, the standard is extremely high. Because of the power of the Bhagavatam, Bhagavatam says, Akama sarva kamo va moksha kama udarati tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. That's whatever motivation you may have. Akama, you may have no motivation. Sarva kama, you may have every motivation. Moksha kama, you want liberation. Tivrena bhakti yogena, you'll get it all if you practice Bhagavatam. But there's a trick to this whole thing. So, first of all, if you approach Krishna, you're going to get purified. Because that's how Krishna works. So now, Krishna says, 5th canto of the Bhagavatam, Satyam dishati artitam artito nrinam, naivartato yat punar artito yata, naivartato swayam vidate bhajanam anichatam ichapitaram nijapadapalavam. He says, so someone may surrender to the process of devotional service, but then they come up with all these material motives, and they start asking Krishna again and again for material benedictions. So Krishna says, this person is a fool, because I'm offering nectar, but he or she is asking for a cup of poison. But then he says, I'm not a fool. Therefore, he says, I'll give them what they're asking for, but I'll do it in such a way that they'll never ask again. And not only that, I'll replace it with Ichapitaram, Nija means mine, Padapalavam, my lotus feet. They'll get that instead as a reward. It is important to notice what the motivation is. That's why Raghunath Das Goswami and other acharyas, like he wrote the book Manak Shiksha. In a Manak Shiksha, you'll notice a kind of a granular observation of the inner motives. Like a pure devotee becomes more and more aware of the fact that he or she has faults, and is actually abhors them, and is really trying to cleanse them in the minutest level. And as one starts to clean, you might clean your room. It's like, it's already clean. As you start to clean, and then you think, oh no, it's worse than I thought. And then once you get the floor clean, you think, I need I got to put new curtains up because they look terrible compared to the clean floor. And then, you just start going through the whole thing. The cleaner you get, the more you know you need to get clean. So it is an important aspect of advancement, is to become more and more aware of one's own motivation. However, it's not a disqualification to speak Bhagavatam. If one is in line with pure devotees and is sincere and has this faith that Krishna and his name are non-different, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's not a thing, he's the thing. That's the difference. If you have this idea that Krishna's, one of the cool things in the world, like people, you invite them from, what's that program called? You can invite people to come to meetings, meetup.com. Yeah. People come around, they go to all the things, and they go, yeah, Krishna's really cool. He's one of the nicest things. And he's not one of the nicest for us. He's, he's everything. So when the devotee has that feeling, this is, Rupa Goswami says, he lists all the qualities of the pure devotee. And 24 qualities. And he says, so if somebody's missing 23 of them, but they have this one, and that is Krishna Sharanam, that my intention is to surrender to Krishna. He's God, I'm his servant. 23 other things he doesn't have. One thing he has, qualified. And then Krishna says, Gita, api chet sudaracharo bhajate mama nanya bhag. Sadhureva samantavya samyag vyavsitoisa. If somebody has this right intention, is that they can be sudarachara, they can be like horrible in many ways. Like they still, that tar is still clinging to them. He said, but don't worry, because they have that faith in me, they'll come to the perfectional stage. Shri Pram Bhavati Dharmatma Shashvashchantam Nagakshati Kaunteya Pratijanihi Nami Bhakti Pranashati. Next verse he guarantees, if the person continues, they're going to come to the perfect stage because of that. So Prabhupada says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that there's a way in which if somebody has faith that Krishna and his name are non-different, then that person will be successful in preaching Krishna consciousness to others. And we can see it from the very beginning of the movement that neophytes came, and they may have had not even a clear idea, except for they had faith that Prabhupada was speaking the truth and that Lord Chaitanya was God, and they went out and told other people about it, and everyone else started chanting too. Okay, so the last point from Her Grace Purnamasi Prabhu.
It's actually a little more connected with yesterday's speaking about Krishna's mercy being given equally, Krishna's equal.
What's that? Even I can't hear now.
Yesterday,
yes,
you mentioned in the about receiving Krishna's mercy.
Yes.
That Krishna's giving is supposedly equal to everyone, but why does it seem to favor people?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So we were staying for a while in Saranagi when Janina was living there, and she had told this story. It's connected because it's like how.
So yesterday we talked about how Krishna is equal to all, but it seems as if he gives more mercy to some than others.
And then today we were speaking about the requisite for receiving spiritual knowledge.
And then today we talked about the requisite for receiving spiritual knowledge.
So Jamuna said at one point, and I don't know the year or the temple or anything, but she said she was just so busy. She said, I had not a second.
And the Prabhupada's disciple Jamuna, Devi Dasi, was talking about how at one point in her devotional practice she was just so busy.
She was only thinking of Prabhupada and Krishna.
She was only thinking of Prabhupada and Krishna and the deities.
So she went to Prabhupada and she said, how is it you're giving me, why are you giving me so much mercy?
And she went to Prabhupada and said, why are you giving me so much mercy?
Prabhupada said, the rain is falling everywhere.
And Prabhupada said, the rain is falling everywhere.
And you're in a cave.
And you're in a cave.
With a big boulder.
With a big boulder in the opening.
Said, so you have to push off the boulder to get the rain.
So you have to push off the boulder to get the rain.
So you're saying, Jamuna, you've done that, you're the perfect receptacle, because Krishna's mercy is just unconditional, yes, but if we have an intense desire to receive that, it's not like we just lie there and let Krishna carry us home. We have to show in our actions and our heart that
we have to show.
That.
We have to use our own effort to show Krishna that we want that.
Yeah. So it was just, I mean, she's so amazing. By the way, if you haven't read Lifetime Devotion, at some point do it.
And if you haven't read Lifetime of Devotion, do it. Read it.
Yeah. Do it. Jamuna actually had written many, she had a huge manuscript. And
Jamuna had a huge manuscript.
Of talks with Prabhupada and realizations and so on. And then there was a big
of
fire.
talks with Prabhupada and realizations, but there was a fire.
Coming very rapidly towards Saranagi. Everybody packed up and left. Everybody.
There was a big fire at Sharanagati. Everyone packed up and left.
Except for Krishna, he was too stubborn. He just watched it.
Except for one of the devotees who was too stubborn. He wouldn't leave.
Anyway, she and Dina had a pickup, and they'd thrown everything in the back as they drove.
She and Dina had thrown everything, all their possessions and papers in the back of a pickup.
The box blew open.
The box blew open, the whole manuscript.
Like
thousands of papers.
All over.
They blew all over.
It was like, she obviously still had some things, but anyway, she was at some point wanting to write it down so we could get it. But because Dina did it, had with a lot of her stories, and being service together for decades. Anyway, it's an amazing book.
It's an amazing book. You should get it as soon as possible. Run, don't walk.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's good.
Gaur Premanande, Nitai Gaura Hari.
Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, hey, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman.